see it. This is the original. Let's get the pointer here.
That's some lines, John.
You can see this is the fountain property, original fountain property. This is the current road area right here. And as you can see right there, that's the existing road. And this is the property we're in the process of purchasing right here. So this is just a rough draft. It's similar in design to the flags, with the star for each of the branches of the military, and then the U.S. flag as well. So basically the designer is looking for input if you like this particular design where they can develop a more detailed print, or if you're thinking it's what your thoughts are in general of the matter. They didn't give great elevation if you don't like the general layout.
Can you comment on the trail on the upper right? What's going on there?
Here is a creek. It's part of the Rush Creek system. And so the idea was to build a trail kind of along the edge of the creek right here.
So is that showing steps or a path down?
This is showing steps. This is quite a decline down to the creek to get to the lower
And
edge.
that's a potential future access.
Right. The creek is pretty shallow, so I don't think there will be a lot of use of that creek at that particular point, except for walking and looking at it. But you never know what the future could hold. But this is kind of opening it up and bringing access to the creek.
And is the solid line across the bottom just showing the property line?
This
Is
is
that
the
showing
current property line.
That's not proposed fence or anything?
No, that's the current property line. Would you like to see an aerial photo of it further? Like an aerial view? Can you put the Google map up? Is there any? Just open up another browser on the top there. Yeah. There you go. We'll locate the property in a minute. So if you zoom in a little bit, you can see here's the creek. It's a little bit easier to see. You go to, zoom out just a little bit now, just a little bit further out. There you go. This is the creek going along here. So he's basically taking and making access right here. So this is kind of a drop off. I'm not sure how many feet down, but it's kind of a bank of the creek. So, and then this is state property. So that's what he's proposed.
Dan, as you go to the north there where the large green space is that part of the floodplain? Is that...
Well, part is the floodplain, yes. A lot of this is flood area. Some of this is state land, and some of this is private land. I don't know exactly where the property line goes through here. But, these people own, I'm not sure how far back they own, but the state owns along the freeway. So if you want to flip back to your other tab right there for the plaza. So you kind of see where that fits on the land there. That's that same creek, and he's proposing a trail. None of this is detailed plans. You don't have, detailed engineering at all of whether that would work and how that would work and how that would lay out. It's just a rough sketch to see if you'd like this kind of plan or if you'd like to see changes before they do a more detailed elevation.
I have a couple of points. The first one is that the board took action to approve a Veterans Plaza. We have a budget. So my thinking on this, what he's showing us, all the drawing to the right of where the Veterans Plaza is does not even fit into the scope of what we've talked about. If it does, we have to make a motion in order to add that. We've just approved a Veterans Plaza. This to the right and the trail and all of that, that's all additional. And so for me, I think we should talk specifically at first about this Veterans Plaza that he's proposing. If there's the mind of the board that they want to spend additional funds in order to do what he's showing on that drawing, then we'll have to make a motion to do that. But it's not in the scope of what we've already approved, and so I think we need to be aware of that. And having said that, then I go back to what I just said, and that is that we should look at this, what he's proposing for the Veterans Plaza itself. That's what we've said we wanted to do. So that's just my take on this.
Rich, I agree with that. It's just that there is potential down there. I walked that area. I didn't seem to be marshy. There's a lot of highland there. There's a cul-de-sac farther down, and where that ends, a number of plantings were put in years ago. It's overgrown now. But I think there's a potential someday, we're not talking right now, but I think there's a potential for a park there. Would like to see something developed along Rush Creek, and the potential is for there to be a walkway there.
And I don't disagree with that, John. I'm just pointing out the fact that we as a board have said, we're doing a Veterans Plaza, here's our budget, and so now we have this proposed plan. So it seems to me we should look at what he's giving us there and make a determination. Do we like what he's showing us? And then take that step.
I guess I'd like to hear from those of you who wanted to put the plaza there to begin with. What do you all think of it, especially our distinguished veteran on this?
I didn't want to put it there in the first place.
All right, you're right. Okay, well, somebody.
I really like it myself. One thing I noticed was I didn't see any park benches or anything. That was mentioned. I thought it would be nice to have some benches too. Other than that, I thought it was good. I like the star, like flag branches that we talked about. He mentions flags around there, American flag here, and then over here mentions flags around here. So, but I agree with Rich that we should first start out with that area that we first mentioned. But I do like that other part too for in the future.
I think this ties together what we talked about for 200 Baldwin, the same theme. We'd be carrying it down here. And I do like the potential of being able to do something eventually with Rush Creek. So, leaves us a lot of options. When they were looking at possible grants, they said because of the potential of fish, salmon and so forth spawning in the stream, if that can be verified, it opens up a whole new door as far as paying for walkways. That there's a number of funds that could be available for that because of the potential there with fish and so forth.
I don't know if they spawn, but they do go up there.
Yep. All the way up to the lakes.
What's the feeling of it? Is it the implicit in the center? What
It's
is
a
that?
pentagon now. That's what he's showing on here, that's a pentagon.
No, isn't that?
In the center, it's 8 foot tall.
Down.
Yeah, an internal,
What are
almost
their
like an
feelings
internal
about
plan,
that?
but not a plan sculpture.
That wasn't necessary as far as I'm concerned, especially with some of the cost issues, but.
The original was a fountain, I think.
Right, and this one I think he thought was a fountain right next door.
Yeah.
Change the easement. I guess, do you like what you see, or do you want to see changes? Do you need to see a more detailed print, or what are your thoughts, or does it start over?
I agree that beyond where we were is something to consider potentially for the future. There is a consideration of their memorial marker, which I think could easily be, there's adequate room outside in front of the fountain, but it would be huge. But at least a relocation of that, because he's got it on that space that Mr. Vanderplock and he were concerned about extending into.
Right, it's
Because of
right
the
there,
cost.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there. And that historical marker, I don't know whether there was unanimity in it, but it was a consideration for something signifying that this was the place of the old home.
So with this type of drawing,
Well, we don't have detailed cost estimates yet, but it's kind of like before you step to what you're going to see, you kind of asked him to do something showing similar to the old one. And so he's showing something similar to the old very similar, except for the fountain is switched with, sculpture.
With a symbolic metal flame, not actual live flame, but looks like.
Correct. Symbolic, yeah, just a sculpture. So with the flags around it.
How do you feel about that, Dale?
It's just difficult to me to see metal, even though it's shaped like a flame, as being a flame. But that's an artistic thing, a very, very personal thing.
I have mixed emotions whether that's necessary. I have to be careful if someone comes up, they think that's worthwhile.
Would you like to see pictures of what that would look like? I guess that's what I'm asking. Do you like to see more design? You still can make changes.
Yeah, he had it on the original, it's metal shaped like a flame. What is that? What's a flame? No, it isn't, it's a form of metal. My artistic appreciation is not a
I'm not sure anything needs to be there, but
Well, in terms of design, I don't believe it needs to be there. I would not be opposed to having that removed. My only question about it is that he indicates that there will be memorial plaques on that design. I don't know what that means.
Well, that was like the way you could use the papers that Greg was talking about.
I see, on that pentagon in the
That
center.
area, yeah.
Isn't that what he has in the circle?
Right, that's part of, that could be part of the same thing.
So I have no problem with removing that personally. I don't, but that's just my thought.
I would like to see the project, the new addition completed at the same time, because you have all your construction equipment out there. So that you landscape it all at the same time, so they all grow all at the same time. Depending that cost is not out of line, but I just see it all done at once.
I think, piggybacking on that, I think at least we did this much when we approved of the purchase of that piece. We, I believe, approved of vegetation, trees, et cetera, at the very least along that northern line.
Well, that's what we have the drawing here.
Right, and I'm saying, but back to Rich's point, I mean, I think we at least approved it as much as that. Since I view the whole piece as mostly for beautification, I would like to see it beautified and some of what's behind it concealed and not leave that for, down the road somewhere. That doesn't mean we have to go to the path to the creek right now and so on. I'm just saying, I think it ought to be, the point right over here at 200 Baldwin, I don't want it looking like that in terms of just raised and left. I think it should be finished. I think it should have a finished look to it.
Well, should we go over each part and see kind of what the consensus is on each part? If we just start with the flag system right here, we'll leave the statue out or the sculpture out for now. If you like the flags, you like the general location.
Yes.
Is there a consensus
I'm
there?
fine.
Okay, now the sculpture, do you like the sculpture, see a sculpture, or you want to see the sculpture before you decide? I mean, you already got a picture of it. That's not
Sculpture in the center.
Yeah, some type of sculpture in the center. See the picture is already, he's already got a picture, so. You don't like the sculpture? or-
Well, I preface my comments with I've never been a supporter of a veterans plaza in the first place, so if we're gonna do one, I don't need to see the sculpture.
Got it.
So, please speak louder, I can't hear you.
So. What about the
I
sculpture?
didn't like my time was right. Hey, number one, I don't know I have no idea what the sculpture would be. None.
I mean, what it would look like, or you want to see one would look like?
What it would be.
Okay.
Would it be a Statue of Liberty or a sculpture of the?
Well, that's where the flame is proposed.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what you're calling a sculpture.
Sculpture, yes. I don't want to call it eternal flame because there's no flame, but
Okay. Okay.
sculpture there.
I thought the base we're talking about was going to be a bigger green.
Okay.
It's similar to the one that he showed us last time. He showed us kind of a metal.
Yes, well, if that's what you like. It's going to be what, that's what you like. That's what he's proposing.
It doesn't need to be there for me.
Like Chad as a non-supporter of the plaza here. If I'm gonna weigh in, I would have it removed.
Okay,
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem. I do like the original work. It wasn't anything magnificent, but it was evolving.
you want to see a water feature in the middle, is that what you're thinking?
I would like that.
What about others?
I'm okay with it.
A water feature or a sculpture?
Either
Just
one.
one.
Because there is a water feature right here. I'm just-
Right. I mean, just like a little, this is secondary.
Okay. So we'll show you those options. I'm not quite sure I hear two for that now.
I'm not in favor of that.
Okay.
Not in favor of it.
Water
Oh,
or
okay.
sculpture.
Okay. Either way, I mean, I could go with nothing.
Yeah, I would not. That's
Do
acceptable to me too, nothing.
we know where the American flag is going?
Yeah. Large American flag
It's indicated just off the parking area.
Yeah.
on the top left.
Okay.
Right there. Okay. Now what about this extended area? I guess you could talk landscaping and path, or nothing at all.
For projections, I would like to see it, cut off, not include that, but,
Something like here?
yeah, but as an option, if you would give a rough estimate of what you think would be attractive in that area. It is, boardwalk and landscaping and an open area.
I think, for my part, I would want to see the landscaping. I don't think the walkway, I don't think anybody's going to want to walk next to that traffic unless there's an end result to it, such as going down to something by the river. Since I think there's a mood to put that aspect off, or it's not quite ready, I think just landscaping would be sufficient.
I like what we see right there.
I also,
You like the whole plan as it is now for this time?
yep.
I do.
So I kind of hear two like this, one landscaping and one kind of drop it off.
That's what I heard.
I think, Carol, you were more along the lines of just do the landscaping without the
Right.
pavement.
It would be, for me, I would like to know cost, estimated cost for doing that.
Okay. So get the information for you and then before we,
Because depending on exactly what we're thinking, if it's to do exactly what he laid out there, that's going to be substantially more money.
you proposed a fence, I'm not sure the exact line, but kind of a fence securing the area. What do you think, thoughts of needing a fence there, or?
No.
That was the idea, if children are there, would be secured in, have a wrought iron fence.
Yes.
Any parent who's had a child run there, probably not. Anyways, no big deal.
I don't think it's fenced.
No fence? Okay. I mean, is there a consensus that you like this general design? I'm still,
I do,
okay,
except for that section.
okay.
I like the general idea.
And you just flip back to he just answered your question about the memorial area. Are you still counting noses on the?
Well, I didn't get enough to go to the right.
Well, you got to mix it.
I got two in landscaping, two in everything.
Everyone
so-
should weigh in then and see where we stand.
Well, I'm okay with that extra part, but like Rich, I would like to know cost, because we did have that $250,000 budget, and I do think if we add all this extra, it's gonna be a lot more. It's my inspired, because when I was on services and we had parks, things with the parks, all that type of stuff with the raised, that's what the raised platforms or whatever, and the sidewalk and all the landscaping, that's all in the extra, I think. If we can do it for that budget.
I'm not even sure that we'll be able to do what he's showing here for $250,000. I don't know, but
When you're talking the budget, are you including the cost of removal of the street?
no, that was not even on the radar screen when we originally.
Because there's also a telephone pole right here and here that obviously this one have to be relocated or removed. That's going to cost as well, so.
So Dan, on the right-hand side, the part that doesn't entirely make sense, where we've got the sidewalk going around, it kind of, to me, would indicate that there's something pretty prominent going on in the middle of that sidewalk. And he references historical or memorial sculpture. But I guess I would have a couple questions about what's going on the inside of that sidewalk loop.
Well, I think he heard different thoughts where people were asking about something to recognize what was there originally on this site.
That was the most.
So if that's a tip of the hat, or whatever.
Well, he's not, of course, you have to live here 50 years to know what was there, so he's not familiar with that. He just heard that as something to inquire. You know, so that's what he's saying, you know, whatever is that, you can incorporate that there, since I think we just passed its 50th anniversary of removal.
Right.
So,
But for that loop to make sense to me, there
You
would
gotta have
need to
something
be
there.
something pretty prominent.
Right.
With that.
Right.
Marking for something historic.
yeah, that's what
That
that's
was the
right there.
mention. The mention was of the
The mill,
Oh.
right.
That's what he
Some type of-
put there. I don't know if he remembered the mill or not, so he just put.
Put historical marker, because we had mentioned there was obviously a historical site there, so, yeah, so I'm not hearing though that there's enough support for the sidewalk at this point.
I like the idea of the circle and the potential of maybe we can get the community behind having some type of development put there in the middle and recognize what that site was used for. As people see that, there would be some strength for that.
I guess I would start with picking what's going in the middle and then decide what we're doing around with it versus doing the sidewalk and later filling it in.
The thing is, if it's going to be the mill, I mean, this is not the site of the mill, so, you know, the mill, it's going to be better to put that over here, you know. In the confusion, this was Chicago Drive, this wasn't Chicago Drive when that was up, you know, and so the whole area is a little bit switched around where what was facing what for people's perspective.
You know, we know there's some changes that we have some consensus on, but, and you can get not an exact estimate, but a parameter of this first, what I'll call phase one. Phase two can always be done at a different time, it doesn't have to.
Sure, we can get the prices, that's not you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just,
We
we're
get
going to
some
do a lot of
estimates.
work if you just didn't like the design. So is that the best way to proceed? We'll get more information for you for our next work session and, you know, different cost estimates of different areas so you have a little more information for the plantings and the trail separate. So,
Yeah, good, separate.
yeah, so you can know whether you want the trail, whether you want the plantings, what each will cost.
Yeah, I would go with the additional if it would happen, the whole thing would happen to be under 250, then I would, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
So,
Dan, is it possible to share this with the museum people and ask them for suggestions, what might be appropriate for a site like that and what public interest there might be for that?
well, I think they love the idea of a plaque as far as the historical group. That's what I was saying is the first thing you're going to look at is, you know, this is a street, right? This was a street, this is a street. You know, so you want to get the location where each thing was.
I'm not so sure it has to be exact, but
Right.
to recognize the community.
General area, yeah.
I think something like that would be appropriate. I think they'd have a much better idea what might be.
Sure.
um,
And we can ask for that as part of the development if you like, in the overall plan, we can start asking what type of plaque you want to see there at the monument.
I'd like to see the Historical Society involved in some way.
Okay. Well, how would you like to involve us?
I'd like them to see the plan and see
Sure.
if they've got some suggestions, what
Okay.
they think would be appropriate.
Great. So, anything else? So we'll bring it back up at our next meeting and,
Do you need more?
well, we
How
get,
much you get?
we need quite a bit more direction. 'Cause
Oh,
we're
yeah.
not really sure where to go, so.
But there were some things that are eliminated.
We want to see cost numbers, we can see clearly, because that'll help make a decision.
Ranges, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll move forward from that and to our next item. You have parking lot repairs, it's just quotes, whether you want to recommend that to go to our next board session.
Yeah, you definitely feel there's a need.
Right, to fill the cracks, it's supposed to lengthen the life of the pavement, I mean, that's their opinion for the pavement. And the idea is preventative to fill in the cracks, keep the lakes from water from getting in.
Yeah, I'm fine with moving them forward.
To the next agenda.
Mhm.
Is that the consensus?
Yes.
Yeah.
Another one is, one time we talked about, you know, in soon Consumers Energy Trail. The trail on the Consumers Energy power line, and we've got a little more information. We're not suggesting that we go this direction at this point, but we wanted to at least bring it to you for your direction of what's involved, and it's quite expensive even to try to proceed down this road without any guarantee that you'll be successful. So I don't know if it's something you'd like to see us to pursue, or if you're just looking for general direction, or if you want more, any other information. But you can see it's quite expensive. We have to have quite detailed plans, and then there's no guarantee we could get it, and no guarantee that once we did get it, that you can keep it. And that's the hardest part.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a pay this and you're done.
I'd read the process of it.
Right, just to think about it. So
It looks like a multi-year before you.
yes, that's why I didn't know if you even wanted to see pursuit of it based on the process that's there. So,
I would be more inclined to pursue something if we had timing on when the county's trail wanted to come along the river. And I think if we've got a trail that ends up coming down along the river, I would be interested in connecting to that at some point and providing easier access. But that could just as easily be done with Rich's idea for complete streets as it could with a trail. So
I'm in no hurry, because that consumer's access is always going to be there.
yeah, so we won't pursue anything further on that, but just mark that matter closed.
that took them years to respond to, though, didn't it?
Well, yes, it took them years to respond, correct? So, yes, it's something that kind of was never closed, for sure, but now we're kind of saying it's not a problem. So,
One thing that I didn't get to you one time and put on, so at least I can cover myself, because I said I would do everything possible to have this board establish a date for a town hall by June. And that's about 2.5 weeks away. So I would like to put that to you. And then if you decide not to establish a town hall date, I'm off the hook. Otherwise, I'm on the hook.
Could I suggest Monday, June 8th, which is our meeting a month from now?
what about the formal meeting 2 weeks later? Because that'll be, I'm just suggesting it's the normal formal meeting.
At the formal meeting?
Yeah, I'm thinking at the formal meeting.
Oh, I was thinking at the informal.
Okay. It's your choice.
I'm just throwing a date out there, because that's the date.
That's a good start. Is there objection to June?
He's fine. Should we June 8th?
Yeah, no, I mean, that doesn't foreclose the option forever, it's just,
We're not
like you're
pursuing.
saying, we're watching, and we're assuming we're watching what happens with the county's
Right,
progress.
so it's one of the things the board wanted us to investigate. So we investigated it. It took some time, so now we're just letting you
It's
know.
not a never ever, it's just not now.
Yeah, it will be different.
When you say June 8th, we had a meeting at
Yes, 7 p.m.
Following the work session or as the work session? That's fine.
I would suggest
Right for you.
right at the beginning.
Perfect. Just want to make sure. And we already have a regular meeting that day, so you don't need to do anything to schedule a special meeting. So. What would you like us to do to promote that? Just Facebook?
Facebook website and all that stuff.
Okay. Okay, do you have the photo of the senior center graph? Well, I keep bringing up the draft of the senior center just to see if you can see the status of it. There was a letter, if you saw a request for a sidewalk request. I don't know if you'd like to see anything on that, in response on that on 12th Avenue.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because I think we should, John Gradeville, one of our residents, sent in a letter asking that we complete the sidewalk at Maplewood Park. If you've been out there, our sidewalk ends, and then between the end of the sidewalk and then to Ash, I think it's Ash Street, I think is that the intersection there?
What kind of converts to Elmwood, yeah.
Elmwood is there, and Ash goes one way, and there's a section that doesn't have a sidewalk. And he's concerned because he says when individuals are walking, they walk with their back to the traffic and they're in the street. And then if you know the configuration, there's a little bit of a curve right there. And he's seen children that are walking in the street, and he feels that if that sidewalk was continued, that they take the walk rather than getting into the street, walking, and then going into the park or wherever it is they go, and then they get back on the sidewalk once it's at near the Maplewood Park entrance.
If I'm looking at this correctly, it looks like though we have a non-motorized path, so it's not sidewalk. I might be looking at that wrong, but
You're correct.
it's up until the edge of that. And we're only talking about extending it the length of one lot.
Correct.
So we could only impose sidewalk.
And we require it, it's in their choice.
I wonder if we could do something there to contribute to a portion to make it
They have, it's a path or something.
yeah, the non-motorized path, so at least we're consistent. It's only,
I think that's a good idea.
you want to talk to the homeowner and see if that's something they're amenable to, or if we're going to force it?
Well, I'm not sure if the homeowner has any idea. This just came from a letter from another resident, so.
No, but I'm saying,
Yeah, we can do that.
I'm saying before we decide even to
Schedule
schedule it,
it.
we approach them and have the conversation.
Sure. But if you haven't driven there lately, and as it shows here on Chad's screen, but if you drive there, it's very noticeable. You'll see it immediately. Drive down there.
When he makes reference, where are these children walking from to that endangered them? That's, it's essentially a right angle there. And
I think he's saying if they're coming from one of these side neighborhoods and turning at 12, they're walking on 12th, which is the busy road.
Our goal would be to keep children or others out of the street.
and that busy road continues up here. Where officer mailbox sidewalk. But long-term, eventually would connect with Cottonwood. And it would make a walkable area from Baldwin to Cottonwood. Eventually Elmwood. Eventually take it out.
Elmwood doesn't have any utilities though, so
Yeah.
usually the sidewalk comes in last. Like when you have the risk of
So you have to tear it up when utilities.
with storm sewer, sanitary sewer. So.
Yeah, I'm
So
fine.
we'll meet with the property owner and see if we can work out some arrangement and then we'll go back to the board. Is that kind of what I'm hearing? So,
Yes.
okay. And we'll wait and see if the technical difficulties here are being resolved. Any other items you want to bring up here while he's bringing up the senior center plan? Sorry, Rod.
Well, so much support for the electronic newsletter. Can we talk about that now, or?
Whatever you want to talk about. So. Here it comes.
Oh.
Right there with the three little dots, you can make it wider.
Don't feel any pressure at all.
We apologize, but we were playing a smaller crowd, so we played a smaller room.
It's all right.
So we're getting Can you drag that full screen?
There.
Okay. This is kind of a potential layout, and so you know, working with the senior group making changes and making additional changes, but this is the property kind of coming into the senior center toward this, and this is then facing toward the lake. We have a little lake view on this side as well. Right now, they're looking at changing this around and taking the library and putting the library back here with computer stations and library, and moving the staff here so they can see the people coming in a little easier. And then the library would be here, a little quieter area, kind of is the thought. Because, I mean, those are some of the things they're talking about. They're also talking about splitting this with a more permanent wall, so the fitness area can make more noise than what a temporary wall would be. That's some of the ideas. So, but the seniors are working toward this. This is the basic size that was proposed of 10,000 square feet, and obviously working within the budget for the building itself. So do you have a couple of other slides to look at some other options? I don't know if you have. This is the basic layout. Other ones just show this as instead of open area, this would all be seating area here, tables to feed people. The kitchen's here, storage area for extra tables when they're doing different events. One of the offices is a medical office, you know, where people could seek different care, and that's not the proposed. So, and then a small conference room where they can have special smaller events. So basically, they could host an event here, host a large event, an event in the library, and an event in that conference room. So that's kind of the options that they could do simultaneously. So, patio here, and then some type of deck kind of facing the water. So it's just a rough layout. We're getting more detailed plans, but just wanted to kind of give you a progress report. So.
Did I see, or I'm imagining, in multi-purpose room dividers?
Well, originally,
Collapsible?
and that's still potentially to do that through here, but now they're talking about some type of permanent wall because they don't think the dividers will work well for fitness, for the classes that they do for music, the noise that's made through that to fit with the rest of the facility. So that's something the seniors are saying. You know, we'll sacrifice having the big room available for a couple events a year to have a more permanent room that you can make more noise in. So kind of make it more of a quiet area for the rest of the center. Right now, if the Zumba class is going or any type of aerobic class is going, it makes quite a bit of noise for the rest of the center. You can't probably do anything else in the center at that point.
And you showed us two different layouts. This is the one that we had consensus on, right? Wasn't there another layout the last time we looked at this, a couple of weeks back or a month back? I remember you said this or this, positioning on the property and all.
We had a couple of initial ones, but now that we have a survey, it kind of really adjusts where they can put certain things. And so this is kind of fitting in more of the survey and then facing the lake. Now they know they think the best direction to face it. So that's the goal. There's a little courtyard here. That's to bring in light. This side of the building, the neighboring property, is not very attractive. It's kind of the back of other businesses. It's kind of been hidden for a while. And so you don't see any windows on this side, but you're kind of opening this up with natural light, just a little courtyard. So.
And even with a permanent wall there in the fitness area, would that room that would be left to the left of that still be larger than the current room?
Yes, correct, yeah. So what do you think, the 200 they can see in there with the wall?
Yeah, 200,
A little over 200, which, you know, now we can't get, you know, you're going to spend money on putting in every little bit of granting, so it's significantly bigger. But if you need more than 200, you would have to have a second event, you know, and divide it, so that would be the plan.
So there was a little conversation, I don't know whether they had it, but is it in my imagination, or is the women's restroom just a little bit larger than men's? If it isn't, it should be.
You know, the number of stalls is determined by size of the building, and so this is meeting the requirement. And so it's significantly more than they have in the current building. So,
Well, yeah, but you can put in what you want.
you can add an addition to it if you
Yeah.
want, if that's what you'd like. Yeah, certainly, we could take out of the,
You can
make
even
the
cut
storage a
off
little
some of
smaller.
that. The majority of
What I was saying is
the
you.
majority of the seniors are. Female.
Unfortunately, sometimes this is where the code doesn't take that into account. So we wouldn't be able to probably reduce from one, but we certainly could make the other one bigger, reduce from storage or some other space. That's
Because of
certainly-
people
minimum number.
Oh,
Yeah, so we can't go below the minimum number, but you can go above it.
because of the square footage of the facility?
Number of people who would be in there, yes. So,
And, appreciate
if
it.
you want to do that, let us know, because
Well, yeah, because, you know, you want to go in there, and even when there's big crowds there, yeah, I bet you it's at least 5, 6 to 1 female.
yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Maybe the mechanical area is
So
larger
you
than
wanna-
it needs to be there. you know?
Yeah.
They could make this top one bigger.
I was gonna say the two at the top later, and then are those restrooms, because I think what's going on, I think what I would do is pull the labels off and label them both unisex.
There you go. And then they could be practically used.
And then those would seem to be sized appropriately, that they could be the assisted bathrooms if somebody required
That's a
assistance.
good thought. We might have to look at that.
Dan,
We might have to review that. We can look at that. We'll look and see what we can do. These are multi-stall. I don't know if these are multi-stall.
They look like single.
They are?
Yeah, they're all two stalls.
Okay, he's saying they're all 2
Because
stalls.
I would,
So that's 4 stalls.
honestly, I think you're gonna find you'd be better off to take them down to single stall unisex with a lock on the door.
Okay.
So that you got 1 or 2 that are big enough that.
Well, the only concern is if we have to have, what number we have to have per row, that's what's driving it. But if you think bathrooms are more important, obviously we can storage between a little bit here.
I think you're gonna want at least 1 that feels like a private bathroom.
Sure. Yes, you have to have a 5-foot radius, but
Probably too much, not much easier for being a genius.
What's the square footage of the dimensions of the courtyard?
that's a good question. I don't have the plan, the detailed measurement in front of me. The whole building is 10,000 square feet approximately. And I'm not sure what that cutout is. I just don't know.
What is the actual purpose of the courtyard other than light?
That is the purpose of the courtyard. It's a nice area where you could have an area where people could be outside and not a wind area. Because this would be out, this is a beautiful outside deck on the lake down here. So that would be the more attractive outside space when we have the deck come around or the deck comes on this side. But yes, this is for light. There is some architectural features that in the building. If you see the overall layout that this adds to, you know, to kind of break up the space. But light is the primary focus. But yes, it would be a neat area with bringing light to this building on both sides. So.
I like the courtyard.
And the input from the seniors has been helpful. What's the tone over there yet? Is there still enthusiasm? Has it gone through the process? Is there
Lots of excitement.
good? Is there anything that they just feel like, wow, we didn't get X, you know?
Well, there's individual requests.
Sure, no, but I mean, has there been a consensus request of, how could you miss?
I can speak a little bit to that.
There's always something.
I sat in with Rod when he, you know, they came out, I think initially, the plan was 17 or 18,000 square feet. And Rod said, no, the board said, you know, 10,000. And I was just impressed with how cooperative they are. Well, we can get away with, we can get along without this. And we can get along with smaller. There was none of that. We need more. They were correct, Rod. They were very, very cooperative. To try to work within those parameters. And they are very enthusiastic. They're chomping at the bit because, you know, this has been going on for 3-4 years.
Remind me the size of the current one?
4800.
48.
Plus the current one is still there for certain uses that would be available. Well, that's your choice, but yeah. So, okay, is there anything else on this? Anything else?
Good.
Then we're ready, Mr. Chairman, I think, any other public comments? I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah. Public comments?
Good evening. My name is Dan Samuels, 7768 Lilac Drive. I'm here because I guess I'm concerned. I'm getting emotional. We're all on the same team. We put you in that position because we thought you had your thumb on the pulse of the community and you would represent us the way we thought. We would tell you how we wanted to be represented. And I don't know if you're seeing that or not. I don't know if how many of you have heard of GR Forward? If not, check into it. Yeah, it's Grand Rapids, and I just happened to see it tonight on the news. Fabulous little program. In fact, Mr. Moore brought our town hall up. And that's what this is kind of about. They've got about 3,500 people that they get into some sort of a hall, and they have comments. They have people up on the boards making things on, we like what you said, we like what you said. And then they take it under advisement because, 2,000 ideas are probably better than 6 or 7, however many there are of you guys. But that's just my thought. But that's what we put you there, is to have your pulse on, your thumb on our pulse, not on each other, but on our pulse. I have 4 short bullet points, and at the end of each one, I'm going to say smart or not smart. And if you choose to raise your hand on either one of those, feel free to do so. Buy land without getting appraisals, smart, not smart. Go ahead, you can raise your hand. Down it. Sell land without getting an appraisal, smart, not smart. Veterans Plaza location, smart or not smart? And lastly, the discouraging of WCET from taping our meetings here in this room here. We've had some issues with it. We had a young lady kind of scurried out of here a couple, 3 weeks ago. That's going on, and I don't know if that's good or bad. We want to know what's going on, and a lot of us get it from WCET. We get it, unfortunately now, 155,000 emails a day. But we should have a site where you guys can post, where we can go, where we know what you're thinking. If you want to know what we're thinking, I'll leave my phone number. Call me. I don't have any problem telling you what I'd really like to see. You don't have to agree with me. I wouldn't expect you to. But you've got to ask. You can't make the decisions based on what you guys think is best for everybody. The Kmart property, not the best idea. I know we had great plans of putting up this Taj Mahal. Unfortunately, that fell through. We should have got some input. We really should. With that being said, use this as your thermometer, a sounding board. You can do that. We're all out there for you guys. We really are. Thank you.
Did you speak? Over the last night, Mary Olson here at 7544 North Garden Court. Over the last 9 months of attending meetings, witnessing unpopular board decisions, I have heard it said that once something has been voted on, it's a done deal. But recently the board voted that the developer at the corner of 8th and 44th Street would not be required for the sidewalk to nowhere. That decision was based on a recommendation from the Planning Commission, but the board came back to the last board meeting and made a motion to reconsider and take another vote. As Chad Tuttle stated, doing so is a dangerous precedent in regards to the future voting. Perhaps he was right, because now the public is aware that the unpopular vote can indeed be reversed, and according to Robert's rules, if the board can reverse the decision in this matter, they could also go back to the drawing board and choose another location for the Vets Memorial. A quiet, contemplated, more appropriate, and respectful location rather than the busiest piece of land in the township. A highly visible location for the board to show up to passers-by and say, look at what we did. And of course, it gave the board an excuse to buy out what they considered as an inappropriate business, the grandiose gateway that they all dream of. A business that was part of our ever-dwindling tax base, a business that was part of a very popular among many residents, a business that was popular among the millennials. This board keeps saying they want to attract to our community. This board could have left Love Tattoo alone. You could have saved the township $275,000 to purchase it. You could have saved the township the loss of another tax base. You You could have voted to place the memorial in one of our many lovely parks or in the cemetery. Or if you wanted a more visible drive-by location, it could have been placed on the lush green lot across from the cemetery on the lawn of the Township Hall, which is already plenty of parking available. And with the neighboring churches at the Township site, offers excellent opportunities for Memorial Day services with the additional parking. Great things can be done in this township without the wild spending this board has become famous for, and without bullying local business and residents who sell their historic family homes and livelihoods because they don't fit your big picture. But we know our hard-earned tax dollars mean little to you, or you wouldn't be purchasing property without appraisals. You wouldn't be so willing to throw away $1.2 million on a bad deal on the Kmart site. And additionally, I made a couple notes here. I believe we had $250,000 budgeted for the Vets Memorial. We've already gone over by buying $275 for love. And Mr. Waringa, he said that he views the memorial more as a beautification than as a memorial. I think that's a questionable opinion at best. Future meetings, please use microphones. Residents can hear you that way. Current setting without microphones and your back to the audience looks like you don't want us to hear you, and that you, it's just kind of disrespectful to the residents. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, is this town hall format, yes or no?
No.
Okay.
We'll have an opportunity for discussion in general.
Kelly Britton, 7656 Blues Avenue. Members of the board, after reading the abstract purchase agreement with Mr. Nelson in regards to the Kmart property at 200 Chicago Drive, I ask you to retract your offer of $840,000. After doing much research, I have found that the Kmart site via the auto center at one time had waste oil leak as well as other contamination that has environmentally impacted this property. I also understand that the cleanup from this contamination would be the responsibility of the township and its taxpaying residents. We could potentially lose more than only $1.2 million when you factor in the cost of environmental cleanup. Another thing I would like you to consider is the fact that this property has only been on the market roughly 3 months. Why the rush? I would hope that you are not anxious to sell at this ridiculously low price for the purpose of re-election in 2016. Whereas the housing market is booming, business and commercial property can take some time to sell. Another problem with this purchase agreement is the developer gets to hold an option on an $840,000 transaction with the right not to execute until December for $5,000 with the right to cancel if he doesn't lease the space. There are many protections in place for the developer, but where is the township's protection? As a trustee, we the constituents have placed trust in you to do not only what is best for our community, but also with our tax money. The definition of trustee in the Merriam-Webster dictionary is a person or organization that has been given responsibility for managing someone else's property or money through a trust. Also, a member of a group that manages the money of an organization. Over the last year, you have pushed that trust that we the constituents have given to you to the limits. You have spent over half of our accessible cash on property acquisition. Help rebuild this trust by reversing the decision to sell 200 Chicago Drive for the price of $840,000. A couple other things I would like to touch on. One, Veterans Plaza. I'm at a loss as why this location has been chosen as memorial to our veterans. This location will butt up to the highway off-ramp from 196 and run along the section of Chicago Drive. This is the second busiest intersection in all of the township. While it may bring a lot of exposure, which benefits only the board, it is not conducive as a place for quiet reflection for the people who will visit it. I feel a study or survey of your constituents will be in order before finalizing the location. Also, the price for the Veterans Memorial Plaza was not to exceed over $250,000. But with the purchase of Love Tattoo, it is now over that and will cost the taxpayers over $500,000. It has come to number 2. It has come to my attention that the April 13 meeting, an employee of WCET cannot video record the board meeting, which you have termed a workshop. This term is not proper as there are votes in said workshops. WCET filming board meetings is a service to the community and its residents who are not able to attend meetings because of work or family commitments and such. I'm confused. I've heard board members state that they like input and involvement from the residents, but then they turn WCET away from video recording. And this is not the first time that this kind of incident has occurred. Turning away WCET actually leads the community to believe that there is no transparency and that you do not wish for the public to view the decisions you have made. Thank you for receiving my public comments. A copy of this letter is to be included in the meeting minutes for May 11, 2015. One last note, please put on microphones. I can't hear, especially, I can hear Rich very well, Dale pretty well, and Ron very well, but the rest of you I can't hear. Thank you. Here's a copy for everyone. Oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening, Edward Sosa, 7927 Panama Court. I know you've already heard it, but I want to echo about the fact that, you know what, we have all these people who came here tonight to listen to our township board. You could have at least been courteous and welcomed our taxpayers who are here this evening. And put on, again, put the microphones on so we can hear what you're saying during this meeting. You obviously are too used to just you being by yourself and you're not paying attention to the greater public that's here. Georgetown Township members and valued Georgetown taxpayers, thank you for coming this evening. I stand here before you because one of the big things I've been pushing is about keeping the community informed about what's going on within our township and why decisions are being made. So two things I want to cover tonight is keeping the community informed, and two, in regards to the Veterans Memorial. And I stand before you again, I stated this before to the Township Board, that if you truly want to run our township like a democracy, and you truly want to be transparent and physically responsible, and if you truly want to keep the community informed, then you will move forward with actions and not just words. The following points are in regards to keeping the community informed. Be empathetic. When preparing your workshop and your minutes after board meetings, every time you make a motion or you vote on something, help us to understand why you're voting on something and what goal that's attached to. Okay? I think many times as elected officials, you talk amongst yourselves so much that you assume that everybody knows, and that's not true. I mean, it's been said that when you drop a piece of paper on the floor and somebody picks it up, you should know what it says. So when we come to meetings, we should be able to know what you're voting on and why you're voting for it. Running the township is not just about the township board, but it's all about all of us. That includes Georgetown Township taxpayers. It's about teaching and learning. Educate taxpayers about what you're doing and why. Don't just throw a taxpayer's puzzle piece to us and strive to have us figure it out ourselves what it's for. But show us the cover of the box, because that way we know what the puzzle piece is headed towards. Because if you don't, our perceptions are our realities, and it's not always in your favor. I brought up the issue again, and you talked about it, creating a newsletter. You've not done this. Mailing hard copies to residents, especially for senior citizens, that's the way they deal with stuff. They don't deal with social media like the rest of us. But you can make a PDF copy and put it in the newsletter, or put it on the website, on your new website. So, certain board members have stated that it costs money to put together a newsletter. The board has spent large sums of money on property acquisition and other projects. Why not spend money on your taxpayers to keep us informed? Where are you in regards to working as a team? And I'm talking about the 2,500 residents of Reinvent Georgetown Township and For the Love of Georgetown Township Facebook pages, and posting the newsletter on those pages in collaboration with that leadership. You may think you're listening to your taxpayers, but in reality, you're not hearing what we're saying. Or if you're hearing us, you still turn around and do what you feel that you want. Do you truly have your finger on the pulse of the community? Whether you view us as complainers or by any other title you choose to call us, remember, in short, we're still Georgetown residents and we are taxpayers. Where are you in regards to working as a team with community members? Let's work as a team and not in silos. I was elated tonight when you talked about the township meeting, because that was going to be one of the points that I was going to bring up. Stop talking about it and do it. That's what you need to do. Because what I was going to ask you is, why don't you want township meetings? What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of community members asking you a question in public and you have to respond in public? If you're being honest and trustworthy and in the best interest of the community, that shouldn't frighten you if that's your case. A couple of meetings ago, I stated publicly that the board doesn't like to be documented or recorded. Mr. Vanderklark, you chided me publicly, and said that what I said wasn't true and that I should not make statements without proof. It's my understanding that WCET was discouraged and intimidated from recording the last public workshop. I see that they're not here this evening. I think you know, but I want other taxpayers to know that the people who are here is TV 13, I believe, and a community member who has volunteered their time who borrowed camera equipment to be here this evening. Why is WCET being discouraged and intimidated from recording workshop meetings? Tonight, I ask you, Mr. Vanderklark and your board colleagues, why do you not want to be recorded during workshop meetings? What makes you uncomfortable, or what are you afraid of? Is it that you don't want to be recorded because at workshop meetings, that's where the real discussions and decisions are made prior to a board meeting? Let's face it, when we have a real board meeting, that's kind of theatrical because all the decisions are made at these kinds of workshops. And it's pretty much in the Veterans Memorial, and also look and see what the community is saying. If you really want to truly see what people are saying, there's 25 people between Georgetown Township making comments on there. Take some time to read it if you really truly care. Thank you.
First, Dale, I love your shirt. That's the good old logo back in the good old days of Georgetown Township and Cashman's. So I'm here to talk about Chicago Drive.
I bought this myself.
Oh, did you? Yes. Yeah, that
But seeing it's not our logo, I'll give it to you.
200 Chicago Drive, I know you guys refer to it as a $1 million loss. It was in the news this week. This is a $1.2 million loss. And I just want to set the record straight that it's incorrect. We bought 200 Chicago Drive for $3 million. Gave away KFC for $415,000. Payless is on the market for $500. We'll be lucky to get $400 because we sold KFC for $415. So nobody can pay $500. One thing we always forget about is the demolition of the building. That's $165,000 taxpayer dollars gone. So add that to the pot. So Mr. Nelson offered $740. We got an appraisal counter, $840. Forgetting about $84,000 we're going to pay to Colliers for commission on that. $40,000 if we sell Payless for $400,000. And then also the $62,000 that Kmart was paying us in property taxes, which is gone, brings us to $1,696,000, so close to $1.7 million. But then today, looking at the bills, the monthly bills, that fence that we put around it, $5,000. So plus the appraisal was $2,200. So it's going to be a taxpayer loss of $1,703,200. Thank you, board. Now, we could talk about 200 Baldwin, and remember, Jim, we talked back in May last year. Chad, I talked to you. We're going to take a hit on that. How much are we going to lose on that one? We got $2 million into it, I think, and I think roughly in lost property tax, somewhere around $30,000 every year, $35,000. Same with the rock pile at the corner. There's $16,000 a year lost tax revenue, plus we got $600,000, $700,000 in that one. So then we're looking at the Veterans Park now, with a limit of 275, or was it 285? And you bought left that 275, blew the budget right there, but we're gonna spend more, so. And then $1 million at Rosewood Park, 1.5, but probably it's gonna be around $2 million for the senior center, $1 million for Maplewood Park improvements. What does that leave us? We had $10 million 3 years ago. You guys, your campaign videos, we're fiscal conservatives. No reason to raise our taxes, 2.25 mils. 3 years later, we pretty much have our 10 million cash reserve spent, gone. Our taxes have been increased from 2.25 mils to 2.75. For what reason? I have no idea. I don't know if it's to spend more, maybe. I have no idea. But I think we need to stop. And Chad, I know you commented last time that I don't like to spend any money. I'm the most fiscally conservative person you know. I agree, and I don't want you to think I don't want you to spend money. I want to show us we need to spend that money. Where are the metrics we were asking for 8 months ago saying, are we keeping track of how many people come to the library? Are we keeping track of how many seniors are there each day? Do we have the numbers? Do we have the metrics to support a need instead of a want? I know it's a want. I think who doesn't love free stuff? Free stuff is great. Let's show that we actually have a need. Then you can justify it to the taxpayers easily. Say, here's what we've been tracking for the past 8-9 months. Here's how many people come and look at how busy it is. The library's packed. We need to expand it. Okay. Then we got some. Oh, nope. I guarantee we haven't done any metrics on any of that. We're not keeping track. It's easier to put a spin on stuff and sell it as propaganda and give away free stuff because who doesn't love free stuff? But I just ask that we start being more fiscally conservative and looking into things and examining and be honest too. That's the key. I don't know why politicians don't understand how far honesty can go. Just be honest. That's it. I mean, we're taking some losses. That's fine. Let's just work together as a team and figure this thing out with numbers and facts and discussions, and not just I want this, I want that, I like to do this, so I want that. And then also in the consent agenda, there was another. I think I talked to Dale last fall about tax exempt status or tax abatements for business. Oh, we very rarely do. And just last meeting we had one who was asking for it. I forget what they did. Some manufacturing company on Pine Street, Pine Ridge. And now this consent agenda, we got another company asking for it. And I'm asking it, what are these companies doing for us? They're putting stress on our infrastructure, wear and tear on our roads, fire department, that's a big building at risk, so they utilize the fire department, but they're going to get tax exempt status. I know it hasn't been approved yet, but I just ask that we look at that and say, what is this business doing for our community? If they employ 40 Georgetown residents, hey, there we have something. But they're making a profit, so if you're going to give a tax break to businesses, let's give it to everybody.
Someone else a chance.
All right, thanks.
I'm Denise Kate, 7869 Park Court in Genesee. And I looked at the plan of the Veterans Memorial Park. And I guess it's such a busy, you've got the ramp and the Chicago Drive, and you've got the train, and you've got Maine. It just seems like not such an honorable place to honor our veterans. It just seems like a busy intersection, noisy, not contemplative, not respectful enough. Do I want to see things, look nice as you come into Georgetown? Of course I do. I live here. I want to be proud of where I live. But I'm not sure that is necessarily, you can clean it up and you can make it look nice, but I'm not sure that that's necessarily a respectful place for the Veterans Memorial Park. The other thing that it was my understanding that the reason that Love Tattoo had to be purchased was because we needed a parking for the park, for the Memorial Park. And on the plan, though, it shows that that's where the sidewalk makes this circle where that building sits. So you're obviously not using it for parking like you said. And I could be looking at the plan wrong, but when I looked at it, it looks like there's only like 6 parking spaces right along the north edge there. Which, if you really want to make this a place that people want to come, you're going to need more than 6 parking spaces. So I just I don't know how far into it you are, and, you know, maybe things can't be changed at this point. But if you are going to put the Veterans Memorial Park there, I would like it to be very honorable and very respectful, as much as we can do, given the noise level and the constraints of the area.
Jacqueline Martin, 8294 Cottonwood Drive. As you know, I'd rather be sitting at this table with you. It's a little less intimidating than standing up, but I'll stand up here and shave a little bit. First thing I'd like to talk to you about is the Veterans Plaza. Having heard your plans for the plaza, it sounds more like it will be a monument plaza that glorifies the board and its beautification agenda. The board has done a piss poor job in gauging how the community feels about this location for the Vets Plaza. Per the many, many comments I've seen on our own discussion group, clearly people want the plaza, but most all are against the chosen location. Has the board ever heard of Survey Monkey? It's a very low-cost way to survey all the email addresses that you already have in hand from people to pay your water bills online. So there's no reason that you can't get out there and get more input on some of these big decisions. Why have you not made a good faith effort to gauge community support for the location and the proposed budget for this project? Putting up a photo of the Vets Plaza design and asking people to only write to the board email address will not gather any meaningful responses. Nor are you taking any note of any comments on the posts that you make. Why isn't this a town hall meeting subject? Where are the town hall meetings that you have promised us? And I appreciate, Mr. Moore, you bringing that up tonight. You are planning on spending close to $500,000 on this plaza without community buy-in. The location is noisy, and it is the opposite of a peaceful place to contemplate the lives lost to war. You have voted. You have voted to turn around on the sidewalk to nowhere. Why can't you do the same for Vets Plaza? On the subject of the town halls, in no way should you be thinking a town hall that piggybacks on a board meeting. First of all, it takes away from the very few hours you have now to perform board business, now that you've shrunk everything down into 2 meetings a month. It also takes away targeted time for residents to participate. They shouldn't have to sit through a couple of hours of regular board business to get to the town hall. The town hall should be scheduled on a night of its own. It should have full access to WCT cameras, and you should try to make it as popular and as attended as possible. On the subject of Chicago Drive, I would like for you to retract your offer of sale. You have agreed to sell this property for half of what you paid for it. There is most likely an environmental cleanup issue that you have failed to ascertain because you didn't do your due diligence before speedily buying up this property after the failed $19 million bond. We don't know how much we will be on the hook for this cleanup, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be costly. This will make the cost to us even higher for this terrible purchase and sale. Instead, you're speeding along to get this property sold for at least a $1.6 million loss. Why is that? Why are you doing that? We were really wondering what you guys are doing. It is a bad decision to sell this property so quickly for such a loss of the taxpayer dollars. Here is a stat regarding our property taxes that I'm sure that you can all appreciate. At 2.25 mils, you collected a total of $3.1 million in tax revenue per year on every property in the township. After raising it to 2.75 mils last year, a 25% increase, you now collect $3.75 million annually. So raising our local taxes 25% only gained you $700,000 per year. This is why a mistake like Kmart matters. It was a loss equal to 1/3 of our total property tax annual revenue, or 2 whole years of your tax increases. Do the right thing and make a motion to retract the sale offer on the Kmart property. You are selling the entire township and its residents short. It's our money from our paychecks, and you don't act like it. Thank you.
evening. John Cade, 7869 Parkside Court. First, as other people have mentioned, we would greatly appreciate it if you did use microphones. It is very difficult to hear, especially people that are facing that direction. On April 13th, I asked if the public comment section could be added to the beginning of this meeting, to this board session. Yeah, looking at the agenda, that did not happen. I have asked several times that minutes of the board meeting, that people that speak, that public comments, that their names and a brief recap is stated in the minutes. That does not happen unless we turn in a written paper. And sometimes people, especially at the board meetings where there is the second public comment section, come up with something but cannot really formally write it down to turn it in. So I would appreciate it if that committee be changed. On January 19th, the board talked about town hall type meetings. Tonight, I do appreciate saying June 8th or some day in June, but one has to wonder from January 19th to June 8th is 5 months. Why it takes 5 months to do something like that. The board says it wants to be open and wants public input, but the actions seem to be the opposite. The good organization, WCET, can take public hearings, public meetings. This is an excellent way for voters who cannot attend the meetings to see what is happening at the meetings. I understand on April 13th, the lady from WCET arrived to take the meeting and was told in words to the effect of she does not have to take the meeting and she could leave. If the members of the board really want transparency, as many of you did claim in your 2012 election rhetoric, which I did happen to pay particular attention to, they should encourage WCET and not discourage it. Dr. Moore told me April 27th regarding the LED sign out front that he was in favor of the more expensive LED sign so that he could keep the public better informed. That's nice, but to me it would seem like town hall type meetings and encouraging WCET to record the meetings would be good and a less expensive way than spending an additional $28,000 for a sign that people driving by may or may not see. Regarding the senior center, I appreciate that you had a small display about it as far as the floor plan. I would wonder, is the 10,000 square feet still what you're planning on? I guess from conversations it probably is, but most importantly, is the 1.5 million still on budget? Of course, the township already owns the land, so we're only talking 1.5 million of construction costs. Maybe in the discussion section, if someone could comment on the 1.5 million and also what the timeline is for the building to be done. Regarding 200 Chicago Drive, I do feel there's a very poor investment, and just in my opinion, maybe some board people want to sell it quickly so that by August of 2016, when the next election is up, there will be at least the start of some nice building there. I just wonder if that is in the background of some people's minds. I would like to have my comments on the minutes of tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Larkin, 829 Cottonwood Drive, Denison, Michigan. I'm back here because I'm trying to figure out what's going on in this meeting. We have our officials of our township. We have a significant number of public citizens of this township here. And more than half of you have your backs to us during the meeting. You have no microphones on. You can't hear. You can't see what's going on. All you're doing is you're driving a deeper wedge between yourselves and the citizens of this community. From now on, any public comments I make in a board meeting such as this is how I'm going to make them until you guys turn around and face the people that put you in that chair and the people that will fill those chairs in 2016 with either yourselves or other people and show us the respect we deserve. Thank you.
Russ Smith, 4093 Woodsy Drive, Nelsonville. First of all, Rod, you need a job. You can convince 1,000 seniors to get about 7,000 square feet, and these guys can build grass and it's a highway. I got a job to do at my company, it's all the same. I don't know where to start. I was sitting in that chair with you guys up until 2012. The schizophrenic nature in which you guys are doing things, I don't understand. There isn't one property acquisition that you guys have followed through on, other than the Kmart property, which I'll cover in detail in a minute, that we discussed when I was on the board 3 years ago. So when you guys say these things have been in the works for years, I don't know where they were, because I wasn't there. There was a Veterans Memorial that was slated to go at 200 Main. And at that time, that property was hardly big enough. We weren't going to have enough parking. How that got shifted to behind the fountain underneath the highway, I have no idea, because that's not where it was going to go. But now it's going to go there because you need one. In 2011, we were talking about buying Kmart for a senior center. Okay, the senior center is still where it is. Now you're talking about building one, but you're building it 7,000 square feet smaller than what we ever talked about, and about $4 million less. I don't understand how that changed. When we were going to buy Kmart, Jim Waring and I were the only ones that thought 1.6 million was a value there. The rest of you thought 1 million. The highest we could get anybody else to go was 1 million. Jim and I were at 1.6. And that was without the 2 outlets in the front and the one in the back. So believe it or not, I don't think the valuation of 2.1 million is all that unreasonable. I don't think that's unreasonable, because that's where we were at. You took the outlet that you guys got, and that you paid about 2.1 million for the property you're going to sell for 840,000. That's unreasonable. You guys know what you paid for the property. You know you paid $3 million. You know you have 165 in for demolition. That's not even done yet. You know you got about 17 line items on there, including improving the lot for the new owner. Where did that come into a buy-sell agreement? If I buy an unimproved piece of property, I'm a darn good negotiator if I can get you guys to build it up to grade for my footings before I take ownership. That goes on top of that billion. 2.1, 2.2 million is what you probably paid for the chunk you're going to sell, Mr. Nelson. Why would you accept 840,000? You're less than a year into it. You're less than a year into it. Grass it over. Put some soccer fields on it for the fire. You do everywhere else in town that you own property that you don't want to sell. Sit on it. Get your $2 million later on. I know you have an election coming up, but you don't need to sell it. You don't need to sell it. You want to sell it, you want to cover up your white elephant. Yes, you bought the property in front of a project that nobody knew about. Guess what? I was on the board in 2012. You know how many times I ever heard of a new township office? 0. There wasn't one discussion in any of these meetings about a new township office. Where did a $19 million new complex come from? 1 year after I got out of office. Tax increase. Pulse of the people was your quote on your campaign flyer, Mr. Swamp. I got my pulse on the people, and no new taxes, by the way. Got a new tax, $800,000 a year out of our property taxes. But you didn't have the pulse of the people because you voted for a $19 million town complex at 60 to, what was it, 80-20? It's a heck of a vote. Not a very good pulse. Now you own the property, you own it. You don't have to sell it. Nothing forces this township board to sell it except for you want to get that thing covered up. Mr. Nelson don't deserve $1.5 million of our money to cover up your mistake. Robert's rule says you can renew that motion. Any one of you tonight can make a motion to renew that motion on that resolution. Mr. Werniger, you didn't agree with the sale. Mr. Moore says he didn't agree with the sale. And Chad Tuttle was smart enough not to show up the night of the vote. Because if there's one politician up here who wants to go far, it's Chad Tuttle. And Chad Tuttle was not going to vote for that sale. So he can make a motion tonight, just like that, according to Robert's rules, to renew that motion for a new vote. Then he can actually get a vote on record. If he agrees with it, he can vote yes. If he doesn't agree with it, he can vote no. If you still say no, Mr. Moore says no, and one of these 4 fiscally conservative people who ran in 2012 can change their mind and vote no on that sale. And we can next that contract. Then you can move on with our money to something that actually makes sense. Let me repeat, under Robert's rules, any one of these people can vote to renew the motion on that resolution tonight. And if they don't, they all agree with selling it, including Mr. Tuttle.
Robert's rules is reconsider.
No, there's a reconsider, which by passing, which one of you that passed it would have to do, and there's a renewal that any of you can do.
Yeah, right.
I'm glad I'm right. Yeah, I know I'm right. Okay.
Yes, you are.
City, county, township meetings. This is by far the most unprofessional run meeting I've ever seen. So you back to the people without microphones, without names in front of you. That's seriously unacceptable. Second thing is I'm a Vietnam era veteran, and I can tell you that is the worst possible place in the world that you could put a memorial to any vets to serve this country. You will be doing them an injustice if that's where you put that. That is not a user-friendly place to put a memorial to salute the vets that put their lives on the line and died for you. Second of all, third of all, the animosity between your constituents and this table is so thick you can cut it with a knife. Why is that? Is it because these people are making bad decisions? Are these people picking on you? Or is it because this board is making real poor decisions? And you're not making the decisions that these people want, that your constituents want, to save our money and not waste it and make bad decisions on purchases and selling. That's not what we want.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll close that portion of the meeting. And next discussion and general information of the board. that. I think that's well taken.
We all heard it, we know what we need.
Microphones can be put on.
Could we not among ourselves, though? I mean, where's the form? This is the problem. We have this much public input, and then the expectation of certain board members is just shut up and let's leave. And I have a hard time with that. So that's why I continue to favor town hall format, even though it can be messy. And I know some people are adverse to but it's.
You turn halfway, so.
Well, but in there too, you don't want me to address that either, but I'd like to say something to that effect, because I don't think people understand the context.
I'd like.
Am I allowed to say as much, huh?
Yeah, it says it turn, so that the public at least for now can hear us.
Okay. Yeah. All right, well, may I say as much then?
Halfway, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Because the idea here was to experiment for 6 months with one board meeting a month and one meeting is a workshop to replace the subcommittee in which we all separately serve. And we were going to make an assessment of it after the 6 months. Is that a good thing, bad thing? Again, I'm not here to defend myself in every point, but I was not in favor of that style. We're clearly getting input that you're not real favorable for it. It wasn't the intention of the board to have it come off as this, and it's clearly come off that way. So the feedback you give is very effective and helpful because it was an experiment, and it was an experiment to maybe cut down on some of the doubling on issues of discussion, because we would handle it in the subcommittee and then have to handle it among the full board and repeat the same discussion over again. So there were thought to be some efficiencies with it. Obviously, in the way it's interpreted by the public is less input, rude, hard to hear, etc. And I'm sure the hard to hear can be fixed with a microphone, and I'm sure that no one here would object to wearing a microphone. But I don't want to go further than I should. I just felt that since I was one of those with my back turned, I wanted to say something in helping explain why we even made this experiment.
There was absolutely no disrespect that was meant in the way this was working out tonight. We looked.
You're the leaders of our township.
I was
Yeah,
just.
pass to us.
I was preferring that we would have our 2 normal meetings, and then have a workshop. That didn't pass, and that's okay. This was supposed to be a chance for us to be able to work together and maybe have our main meeting flow smoothly. We hope so. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted you like that, but standing back there to the wall is not appropriate either.
It's not appropriate for you to have your...
I think you made a good point on microphones, and it will be corrected, because you should be able to hear us. I apologize for that. Usually it's only 3 or 4 people, and it's very interesting. The closer you come, the front seats are empty, but that's no excuse for us. It should be mic'd, and it will be in the future. You make a good point, and I apologize for myself. I never gave it a thought.
It's funny because it feels awkward either way when we sit in the half round sometimes. I'm saying things to them, but I'm looking out here, and I want to turn and look toward you, and we'll say things this way, and then we feel like we're excluding you, and now to do it this way, and we feel like we were back. It's just, it's room dynamics, and probably this is obviously less offensive and maybe just a little awkward for us as I try to make a comment to, John or somebody down here, and that at least seemed to work better than this appears to. So.
Ron, do you have anything? Mr. Medlock?
Yeah, I would like to just clarify something. There is not one person on this board, not one person at WCET or any other individual who has ever heard me ask that these meetings not be taped or that they not be present. And so when that was said, I was taken aback because that is not true. And as far as April 13 is concerned, I was not even involved in any of that. So to connect my name with that, as someone from the public did, is not true.
Yeah, that's good. I think just to reiterate that, frankly, I welcome these things being taped. I welcome WCET, whoever it is that wants to come and tape these meetings. And I think just generally a comment on the format to the rest of the board. I voted against this general format. I am fine whenever we want to go back to the traditional format of, you know, the committees and every other week. So I'm prepared to, you know, support if somebody else wants to make that motion, or if there is a majority, we can go ahead and do that at any given time to go back to the original format of the 7:30 every other Monday meetings in the committee meetings. But I do also understand that it's, you know, this was an experiment, so if we want to continue with it and revise the experiment, add microphones or change the format, I'm fine with us all. I mean, I know last time I was sitting where Carol was sitting, and this time I intentionally sat here so that I would be facing the public. But frankly, you know, if there's support, we can go back to the original meeting format anytime anybody chooses.
I would support that.
Carol,
Well, I just want to say too that I was at that meeting when the WCET lady came, and Dan did not ask her to leave. He had said to her this was going to be a different format, this is going to be a workshop. You are more than welcome to stay. And he said that to her 3 times. I was sitting right there, I heard him.
I'm sure he said it.
He did say it.
I'm sure he said it. I'm sure he
But we have no problem with WCET being here, Channel 17 News, whatever, it's fine. Or 13, I'm sorry.
Just to clarify, Carol, was Rich standing?
Carol, go ahead.
No, it's just to clarify, Carol, was Rich standing with you there?
I think it was just Dan and I
Carol,
in here. I'm not
please make
sure.
your comments.
So, but anyways, I just wanted to make that clear, because I was sitting, Dan was here and I was right here, and she was putting it up right here. And I know Dan just said, I think she was a little confused why we were sitting in a circle, which was mainly for communication for
Yeah, she
us.
doesn't think she was confused.
Carol.
But keep talking.
But anyways, then this is, you know, I just wanted to make the point that I did hear Dan say to her, you are more than welcome to stay. But this is a workshop, and this is a different setting. It was our first meeting, and it was a different setting. So.
Mr. Swan?
Thank you, Carol. As I said before, there was absolutely no disrespect. As far as WCET, I volunteered for them shooting with a camera. I think they do a fantastic job. Alan and Faith, the civic events they go to, they help unify our community. They are very, very impressive.
Why aren't they here tonight?
Yes.
And if they want to be here, they can certainly be here.
Why don't you ask them that, why they weren't here? John? Statement? We have a written statement.
We're going to have at the town hall, we'll have an opportunity for questions.
We have a written statement from the employee in question that might clarify.
I have a statement from Faith at WCET that was here that night that I'd like to read. She wrote the
Not
next
this
day.
time, please.
Sure.
Okay. Dr. Moore, thank you.
This was written by Faith the next day. I did not attend the Georgetown Township Board meeting on April 13, 2015. I started to set up and noticed 3 tables set up in the middle of the room, and not many people were there, so I asked Dan Carlton if there was a board meeting tonight, and he said, yes, but I'm surprised to see WCET here tonight. Our meetings are now a different format. You really don't need to be here because nothing is being voted on tonight. We are allocating a second meeting at a month for voting. I was hesitant to leave.
We would like to hear open and transparent. We want to hear her.
You certainly can hear her.
Those are your leaders, people.
We will join the meeting and she may speak to you.
No, we want to hear her say.
We all want to hear her what Faith
Is this the United States of America?
Yes, it is.
Then don't we have free speech here?
You can speak all your time. Want to return?
You're in your meeting, so we can have our meeting then.
You may. Your meeting adjourned.
So moved.
Support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nays, carried. Now you're welcome to speak.
Yes, would you continue? I'd like to hear that, please.
We want to
This is from Faith. I did not take the Georgetown Township Board meeting on April 15, 2015. And face this camera. I started to set up, and there were 3 tables set up in the middle of the room, and not many people were there. So I asked Dan Carlson if there was a board meeting tonight, and he said, yes. But I'm surprised to see WCET here tonight. Our meetings are now a different format. You really don't need to be here because nothing is being voted on tonight. We are allocating the second meeting of the month to voting. I was hesitant to leave, but Dan was very adamant about WCET not taping. I responded, I think I'm going to stay. I don't want to get in trouble with my boss. Dan responded, Alan needs to remember who his boss is. It's a great night to enjoy, take off, and enjoy the weather. If you have any other questions, Carol Skoma and Richard Vanderclock were present at the time and witnessed the conversation between Dan Carlson and myself. There was voting that went on that night. That was the night that they decided to purchase the love tattoo for $275,000.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.
Meeting adjourned. Meeting adjourned.
No, the meeting.